Will someone please explain to me what the hell is going on?
Brace yourself, Loki.
That's me.
So we go back to Endgame, where Loki picks up the tesseract. He warps away and ends up in the desert, where he tries to rule over some people that somehow don't understand his allspeak.
Damn it, why would it work?
A door appears out of nowhere, and some officers from the Time Variance Authority come out and arrest him.
What is the TVA? I mean, it's from the future. It sounds from the future. It's pretty future-y.
See, he veered off the path of the sacred timeline, and these guys make sure that what's supposed to happen happens, and what doesn't gets fixed. But instead of time traveling and stopping the event that causes the branch in the timeline, they show up after and reset the timeline.
Which, by the way, sounds like a nice way of saying disintegrate everything in its vicinity.
And because of this, he has to be processed and fill out a bunch of paperwork, and even has to see a judge who usually hands out the sentence of death to anyone who messes with the timeline.
It's so messed up!
Well, why would they do all that work if they're just gonna kill him anyways?
I don't know, it's some government crap.
Highly efficient bureaucracy.
Anyway, so Loki goes in front of the judge and says that this is all the Avengers' fault.
You see, I only came into possession of the tesseract because they traveled through time.
But the judge says that
What they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not.
but if he didn't get the tesseract, then they wouldn't have had to go back to the 70s. So it kind of seems like him escaping was part of the sacred timeline.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
But this guy Mobius runs in to stop his execution. See, he's been tracking another Loki through time, and he thinks that he can use this Loki to catch the other one. So the judge okays him living.
Because Loki survived. That's just what we do.
Mobius then tries to figure out Loki by recapping his life and asking pointless questions like, why did you do this? Knowing the answer is that the TVA would have shown up and pruned him if he didn't. But Mobius gets called away, and that's when Loki escapes.
We may be good at surviving, but we're also good at escaping.
He goes to find that in addition to his magic not working here, Infinity Stones don't work either. So he just goes back to the Time Theater to watch the rest of his highlight reel of failures and sad moments.
Yes, very sad. Anyway,
And then Mobius comes back in and says that he could do some good for once and help him catch the other variant. And this variant Loki is going around to different times and waiting for agents to show up to steal their reset charges. And on their last run, a TVA agent was mind controlled into beating up her partners, and then she got dragged off into a portal.
it's a trap.
It's a trap!
Unfortunately, when they get there, they don't find any evidence that helps them. So Judge Renslayer gives Mobius one more chance after they aren't able to retrieve C-20, so he has Loki look over every file on the mission. Instead, he looks over his own file, and when he comes across the page of Asgard's destruction, he figures out that they're hiding in apocalyptic events. Mobius then cross-references those with some blue gum he got from a kid in the 1500s.
I gave it to analysis, but they couldn't find anything real.
So they have access to all the information in the universe, but didn't check the lot number that would have told them where and when it was manufactured and where it was sent to.
But, you already knew that.
And they figure out that the variant is hiding in a Costco turned storm shelter during a hurricane. They go there, where everyone but Mobius is totally okay with terrorizing all these innocent people who all are about to die.
Jerks.
And Mobius finds C-20, who says that she gave away the location of the Timekeepers. And Loki and Hunter B-15 find the variant Loki, who's doing a few body changes.
You can call me Randy.
Then the other Loki bombs the sacred timeline with all the stolen reset charges. So all of the TVA agents are rushing to those times for damage control.
Wait, how would that work? Sending reset charges to a time that didn't branch wouldn't change anything.
Shut up. All of those TVA agents randomly showing up to do damage control with no damage would create the damage.
Why not just let the people who are about to die escape in the portals?
And that would lead to the destruction of the timeline and the collapse of reality as we know it.
But here's the really big twist. It turns out that the other Loki is a girl Loki.
And?
Well, he's never seen a girl Loki variant.
Well, he hasn't seen a boy variant of himself either.
This is true. Well, it's supposed to be a really big deal, and she leaves and Loki follows. So Chick Loki transports to the TVA, but magic doesn't work there, so she has to beat up the guards instead of being sneaky. Loki wants them to team up, but she thinks he's in her way. So they fight with each other instead of just walking in the door to the goal they've both had since the beginning.
The timekeepers.
Oh, the timekeepers. Right.
And then Judge Renslayer shows up, and Loki portals them away to another apocalypse because I guess them beating up another 3 people would just be too much?
Yeah, he's doing great.
She wants the Tempad back, but it's dead. Apparently this plan was years in the making.
Years.
But she didn't fully charge the Tempad the last night before she started.
It's remarkable. that you ever made it as far as you did.
I'm just really confused on how it is that she fought so many agents, stole all these reset charges, and not once did it occur to her to steal an extra tempad.
I have shit to do.
So now, they have no way off this moon that's about to be destroyed. But somehow she seems to be more irritated by him calling her Loki or Variant than them possibly dying on this moon that no one escapes from.
Don't call me Variant.
So she says she calls herself Sylvie, so we don't have to call her Chick Loki anymore.
Oh, you changed your name?
They find out that there's an arc that leaves tonight, and they sneak onto a train to get to it. But Loki gets drunk.
Another!
And some dude is like, this is a first-class passenger bar and not an Irish pub. So he goes to tell the guards that people are having too much fun before they might die.
You make even the end of the world sound boring.
So Loki gets thrown out a window because he doesn't have tickets, and Sylvie jumps after him because he's got the tempad. But I'm not really sure why these guards are still doing their jobs when they literally can't get fired anymore.
Nobody cares. It's the end of the world.
But Loki getting thrown out the window breaks the tempad, so they decide to hijack the Ark leaving the moon. On the way, Sylvie tells Loki how she enchants people, and while doing this, ends up revealing that all TVA agents are actually variants. But Mobius and all the others all think that they were created by the Timekeepers.
3 magic lizards created the TVA, and everyone in it.
And then, they get to the city just in time to see the Ark blow up.
You can't take it.
Back at the TVA, Mobius asks Renslayer if he can see C20, but it turns out she died.
She's dead.
Renslayer wants Mobius to keep it a secret so people don't panic, but he wonders why she died because she was totally fine when he left her.
Who's real?
Sylvie tells Loki about how she was captured by the TVA as a child because she was born a girl, but she escaped. And she also thinks it's funny how she's been hiding in apocalypses, but now she's gonna die in one. And that's when Loki tells her that she's super great. So obviously, they fall in love, and that's when the TVA is able to find them in an apocalypse, even though...
Nothing matters! Nothing has any consequence!
Is this the greatest power in the universe?
Oh, that's why she's a girl, so they can fall in love.
Not really. They kinda had a conversation on the train about him being bisexual.
Must have been princesses, or perhaps another prince.
A bit of both.
So he really could have fallen in love with any variant of himself.
I was young and I lost a bet to Thor.
But that storyline wouldn't have gone over so well in larger foreign markets.
What?
Rude.
Anyway, they get off the moon and taken into custody. Loki tries to tell Mobius that he's a variant, but he thinks it's another lie. But B-15 remembers a memory Sylvie put her in at Costco, and she wants her to show her again. During his debriefing, Mobius keeps asking questions, but feels like Renslayer is lying to him, so he steals her tempad. On it, he's able to pull up C20's debriefing and knows that she was murdered, and Loki was telling the truth.
You can trust me.
And when he tries to get Loki, Renslayer catches him and has Mobius pruned when she knows that he's going to tell the truth about the TVA.
Kind of an asshole and a bad friend.
I'm guessing the guards with her all knew the truth too, because otherwise, he just told 4 more people that now need to die.
You treated real people's lives like some kind of game.
She then takes them to see the Timekeepers, which is where they wanted to go anyway. So B-15 comes in to help them, and Sylvie, for some unknown reason, lets Renslayer pick up a pruning rod so they can fight while Loki's outnumbered.
What could possibly go wrong?
After the fight, Sylvie throws a rod at one of the Timekeepers, and they find out that the Timekeepers are robots.
Do a lot of people not know if they're robots?
And that's when Loki tries to tell Sylvie he loves her,
I miss Randy.
but ends up getting pruned.
Well, he's not really dead, right?
Oh, of course not. I think people just expect Loki to die and come back at this point.
I've lost track of the number of times I've been killed.
Although this really is more Sylvie's story.
It's not your story, Mr. Laufeyson. It never was.
You're a flea on the back of a dragon. In for one hell of a ride, but you did manage to hang on.
So Loki wakes up at the void at the end of time, where he meets other Lokis. There's a young Loki that killed Thor, an old Loki that didn't get killed by Thanos, an alligator Loki, and a Loki that collected all the Infinity Stones.
Hold on, an alligator Loki?
Yeah?
How was a girl Loki a huge deal, but you're just gonna calmly pass by an alligator Loki? I have so many more questions. Did Odin fight a planet of alligators instead of frost giants and adopt a runt alligator, or did Laufey have a baby with an alligator? Was he a son or a pet? I really think that an alligator Loki is 10 times crazier than a Loki that was born with a hoo-hoo.
Why the hell is there an alligator in here?
What does it matter?
Well, there's also a frog Thor, but hardly anyone even noticed that.
Well, you're idiots. I suspect you probably missed a lot.
Back at the TVA, Sylvie has Renslayer at pruning rod point, who tells her that when things get pruned, they just go to the void at the end of time, where branches can't grow anymore. There's a chance that if they can get there, they can not only find Loki, but maybe the person who created the TVA.
You asshole.
She stalls for time by telling her that there's a ship that could take them to the void, but then TVA agents burst in, and Sylvie prunes herself. Apparently she believed the part about matter not being destroyed, even after she found out she lied about the ship. But they were gonna prune her anyway, so I guess she just saved everybody a little exercise.
It must be so exhausting.
So the Lokis go to an underground bowling alley where Loki decides he's going to kill the giant cloud monster that eats anything and everything in the void. But he's interrupted by President Loki, who has a whole gang of other Lokis, or at least wannabe Lokis. Somehow old Loki thinks that Loki led them to their lair, but he was literally with them the whole time he's been in the void.
It's best not to question it.
So while the bad Lokis argue about who should be in charge, the good Lokis slip out after Alligator Loki bites off President Loki's hand, and the rest start fighting. So the other Lokis tell him that they'll take him to Goliath, even though they said earlier that just yelling too loud would attract him.
Stop wailing or you will signal Goliath.
Sylvie wakes up in the void right by Goliath, but Mobius finds her immediately in a pizza delivery cart. While she was making her escape, she touched Goliath and thinks that she might be able to enchant it, which is better than Loki's plan of waiting for it to eat and then sneaking up its butthole.
While he's busy with that, we can sneak around the back and...
But after seeing what the cloud monster can do, they want to reform their plan. But that's when Sylvie and Mobius show up. She tells them that his plan sucked and that they should do her plan. She also tells him that Mobius told her about their Nexus event on Lamentus, and they both agree that he's lying. Even after he was pruned by his best friend, and the TVA was able to find them in an apocalypse after both of them proved that timelines couldn't branch in them. But if he would have just dropped an L-bomb on her, she wouldn't have trust issues going into the fight with Goliath. So they go to enchant the cloud monster, but a branch doesn't pop up to distract it. So Loki runs a few feet away to make it focus on him, but Goliath knows that Sylvie is up to something, or maybe he just likes the color green better, but it goes back over to her.
This is insulting.
But then old Loki projects a giant emerald city for it to eat, and it goes after him, and he dies. So while it's doing that, they try to enchant it, but Loki doesn't know how, and she's like, sure you do, we're the same. But if that's the case, then why couldn't she get her own blanket or new clothes?
You have no idea how uncomfortable something like this is.
But he figures it out with no direction, and a path opens up revealing a castle inside the cloud.
Find the man behind the curtain and kill him.
They make it to the creepy old castle, where Miss Minutes offers them a timeline where they can get everything they want.
And you can have it all together.
But they say no, and she fucks off to give Renslayer some files. They go into a room where Loki wonders if He Who Remains is still alive, because he hasn't dusted in a while.
Are we sure he's even still alive?
But this is right after Miss Minutes was just talking about him. And then he comes out of an elevator where he looks like someone's proud aunt.
Ooh, doggy.
They try to kill him, but he knows their every move.
Watch it. Where's your manners?
Back at the TVA, Mobius goes back to Renslayer's office, and she calls the guards, but he freed B-15, who led some TVA agents, to the school where Renslayer used to be a teacher before she became a variant.
Well, how did they know she used to be a teacher?
See, for some unknown reason, she was letting all these people just borrow a pen from that high school, and they figured it out. But instead of getting in trouble for any of this, Renslayer just leaves to go search for free will.
Free will? Only one person gets free will. The one in charge.
In the void, He Who Remains said a variant of himself discovered the multiverse, and they traveled to get new tech, but some wanted to take over, so he weaponized Goliath and ended the multiversal war.
I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire.
And then he made the TVA to make one timeline so it wouldn't happen again. And after all they've gone through, they don't know whether they can trust him or not. See, he either wants to die or at least not be in charge anymore. But if he dies and they don't take over his role, his variants take over and there'll be another multiversal war. And he'll end up right back where he's at.
Well, why doesn't he just have Renslayer do it?
Well, if Miss Minutes would have told him about her loyalty to the cause, maybe she could have taken over. But instead, he wanted to do some Willy Wonka bullshit to give away his time factory.
You two run the thing.
Anyway, they cross the moment where He Who Remains doesn't know what will happen anymore. So the first thing he does is test if gravity still works. But because they've crossed that point, the timeline starts branching and they need to make a choice. See, Loki wants to keep the timeline and Sylvie wants to kill him. So Sylvie tricks Loki and stabs He Who Remains, who says,
"See you soon."
So now you know he was telling the truth. Nexus events immediately start going off, and Loki feels like he got kicked in the nuts.
I hope you know you deserve to be alone and you always will be.
He goes to warn Mobius, but he doesn't know who he is anymore, and then he sees a statue of He Who Remains and knows it's too late.
I don't understand something. Why did he have to kill the other timelines? Why couldn't he just kill his other variants? Even if he needed to prune the timelines the first time, He didn't need to keep doing it. He could have just stopped anybody who wanted to travel the multiverse, or just pruned them when they started a war. There is no reason to prune something just because something bad might happen.
Well, I mean, that does sound like a better plan than pruning somebody because they ordered a bologna sandwich instead of a ham sandwich.
There's no need to be dramatic, but yeah, kind of. I enjoyed it.
Oh, I did too.
We'll just wait. Wait.
What's going on?
You guys haven't subscribed yet.
What could possibly go wrong?
Some of us need this, you know.
Okay, it's over.
Thanks for visiting the TVA. Don't hesitate to let us know how we're doing.
Good riddance.